Hi, this is Melanie Martinez, and this is my summaries of chapters 3, 4, and 5 in the book Reinventing Project-Based Learning by Susie Boss and Jane Cross. Chapter 3, Imagining the Possibilities. The three topics I'm focusing on is what is the big idea, keeping your students in mind, and learning dispositions. The big idea. What is the core objective of this project lesson? That is your big idea. It should identify Common Core standards. You should be able to scan a table of context for topics or big ideas. Books should be used as a reference only. Identify and connect concepts to the real-world issues. And you should be able to use your big idea to tie the concept in real life back to your student's life. And you should make sure you ask yourself, how does this affect your students? Learning dispositions. These are also known as habits of mind, including important traits, attitudes, habits, and feelings. This includes fixed mindset and a growth mindset. If you have a fixed mindset, you have the belief that intelligence is innate. You either have it or you don't by birth. People with a fixed mindset get easily frustrated when they don't learn a concept right away. They don't believe they have the ability to learn a concept because they have the fixed mindset that they do not have any abilities and they hit a wall. But with the growth mindset, it is the belief that effort is how intelligence is gained. Excuse me. The belief that effort is how intelligence is gained. Like this brain gaining his gains. People with a growth mindset, help grow a growth mindset, it is important to praise the hard work the students are producing rather than the good grades they are producing, so they know it is the hard work and growth that they gain that is important. Keeping your students in mind. Think of projects from the student's point of view when going through these projects. Ask yourself, why should they care? How does this affect them? How can I tie this concept back to their real life? Students engage more when they see connections in their own lives. The lesson should be kept positive and full of passion. The students feed off of your tone and can sense your passion. Keep in mind learning dispositions of your students. Chapter 4, Strategies for Discovery. Project pitfalls, best project practices, and selecting and designing projects. Project pitfalls. As you can see, these are things that you want to avoid. You want to avoid long activities with short learning outcomes. You do not want to spend a long amount of time which is not available in a classroom. With a short learning outcome, you want to be able to have as much learning in the smallest amount of time. You want to avoid long and confusing instructional material. If your material is too wordy, is not clear and concise, you will lose your students' interest and focus. You also want to avoid no focus on formative assessments. I will go over formative assessments in the Chapter 5 review, but formative assessments focus on checking in with your students throughout the project. You also want to avoid reusing project lessons without adaptation. If you are reusing the same project without adjustments year after year, group after group, this is a negative because project-based learning should be student individually based. If you have a new classroom every year that requires a new project lesson. Best project practices. Winning. You should have a driving question. This helps keep the main learning idea at the center of the project. When I am delivering a PBL with my class, I always have my driving question posted on my whiteboard. I review this driving question at the beginning of the project that day and at the end of working on the project that day to hold and reiterate the driving question. You should hold the students' interest with your project's ideas. Students should be able to relate with real-life experiences. This is when it's going to be the most effective, being able to relate to your students. And your students should learn from one another. It is so important for students to rely on each other first, to help each other learn, and rely on the adult last. You should ensure students are learning by doing. And this includes best project practices includes feedback, reflection, and revision, being flexible to adapt during projects, selecting and designing projects. Your project should spark student interest and curiosity. Remember, curious minds pay attention. You should have meaningful topics. Projects should have a meaningful message that students can relate to. Research and review similar projects. Before you have a project, look for previous projects to gain ideas and new ways of delivering. Or you can find ways that you do not like and then create your own. This helps you adapt your project for optimum learning experiences. And you should share your work with your colleagues. Maybe they have this similar project. You can exchange ideas, or at the very least, get their feedback on your project. Again, you should review and look for clear conceptual frameworks. You need to revisit your learning outcomes and your goals and reassess if the project is not concisely focusing on these. This will help you with your time management and to make sure that your content is equal to the amount of time you're spending on the project. Chapter 5, Making Assessment Meaningful. Authentic assessments in project-based learning include formative assessments and summative assessments. Project-specific assessments can be adjusted based on content, unlike national tests. So again, that's why adjustments are being brought up. It is so important. Formative assessments are guidance and direction along the way. This allows for collaboration among students and improves learning. You should set milestones and plan check-ins to make sure you are continuously checking in with your students and checking for learning. This allows for adjustments to be made if something isn't working. Again, adjustments are really big. Examples are brainstorming, project logs, concept maps, checklists, conversations with individual students or groups, and exit slips to check for learning. Summative assessments are assessments that go over overall understanding of the project and core concepts. This is given at the end of a project. Summative assessments should have an object, an activity, and evidence. What will the students learn? Your activity will help students. Will your activity help students better understand a concept? And evidence the summative assessment can demonstrate that learning has taken place. This is my reference page. Thank you for listening.